I used to wake up every morning asking the same question that was slowly eating me alive. What am I supposed to do with my life? I was 29 years old, living in a cramped studio apartment in Austin, Texas, working a job that felt like it was draining my soul drop by drop. But what I didn't know was that the universe was about to answer that question in the most unexpected way possible. And when it did, everything, and I mean everything, changed forever. If you've ever felt like you're wandering through life without a compass, like you're meant for something bigger but can't figure out what that is, then this story is for you. Because what happened to me over the next 8 months didn't just change my career, it completely transformed who I am as a person. Let me take you back to where it all began. Picture this: a gray Tuesday morning in March 2019. I'm sitting in my beige cubicle at a marketing firm downtown, staring at a computer screen filled with numbers that felt as meaningless as my existence. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry insects, and I could feel that familiar knot forming in my stomach, the one that had become my constant companion. I was a data analyst. Sounds important, right? Wrong. I spent 8 hours a day creating reports that I was pretty sure no one ever read. My boss, Mr. Henderson, was a man who seemed to have forgotten what joy looked like sometime in the 1990s. He'd walk by my desk, grunt something about deadlines, and disappear back into his glass office where he'd spend most of the day playing solitaire. The worst part wasn't the boring work or the terrible boss. The worst part was the voice in my head that never stopped whispering, "This isn't it. This isn't what you're meant to be doing." But every time I tried to imagine what I was meant to be doing, I hit a wall. A big, blank, terrifying wall. My friends seemed to have it all figured out. Sarah was a nurse who talked about her patients with such passion that her eyes would light up. Marcus had started his own photography business and couldn't stop talking about capturing people's most beautiful moments. Even my little sister had found her calling as a teacher, spending her weekends creating lesson plans because she actually enjoyed it. And there I was, the square peg trying to fit into every round hole I could find. The nights were the hardest. I'd lie in my narrow bed staring at the ceiling of my studio apartment, listening to the sound of traffic on 6th Street below. The walls felt like they were closing in on me, and I'd think about all the dreams I'd had as a kid. Dreams that seemed so far away now that they felt like they belonged to someone else entirely. I remember one particularly dark night in April when I actually Googled how to find your life purpose at 2 a.m. The internet gave me the usual advice: follow your passion, do what you love, listen to your heart. But what if you don't know what your passion is? What if your heart seems to be speaking a language you don't understand? That's when the depression really started to set in. Not the dramatic, movie-style depression, but the quiet kind that seeps into your bones like fog. I'd wake up tired, go to work on autopilot, come home exhausted, and repeat. Weekends became about sleeping as much as possible because at least when I was asleep, I wasn't thinking about how lost I felt. My mom would call every Sunday, and I could hear the worry in her voice when she'd ask, "How are you doing, sweetheart?" I'd always say, "Fine, Mom, everything's fine." But we both knew I was lying. It was a rainy Thursday in May when everything began to shift. I was having lunch alone at a small cafe near my office, a sad turkey sandwich and a cup of coffee that tasted like it had been sitting in the pot since breakfast. I was scrolling mindlessly through my phone when I overheard 2 women at the table next to me talking. "I'm telling you, Rebecca, that book completely changed my perspective," one of them was saying. She was probably in her 40s, with kind eyes and laugh lines that suggested she smiled often. I manifested my dream job within 3 months of reading it. "Oh, please," her friend Rebecca replied, rolling her eyes. "You don't really believe in all that manifestation stuff, do you?" "I didn't used to," the first woman said, leaning forward with the kind of conviction that made me stop scrolling and start listening. "But I tried what the book suggested, and I kid you not, opportunities started appearing everywhere. It was like the universe finally heard what I was asking for." They were talking about something called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. I'd heard of it before, but had always dismissed it as New Age nonsense. But something about the certainty in that woman's voice made me curious. What if there was something to it? What if I'd been approaching my life all wrong? That afternoon, I found myself standing in the self-help section of Book People on Lamar Boulevard, holding The Secret in my hands. The cover promised to reveal the secret to unlimited joy, health, money, relationships, love, youth, and everything you desire. It sounded too good to be true, but I was desperate enough to try anything. I bought the book and read it in one sitting that night, curled up on my small couch with a cup of tea and a sense of hope I hadn't felt in months. The basic premise was simple. Like attracts like. Your thoughts become things. The universe responds to your vibrational frequency. According to Rhonda Byrne, everything that was happening in my life, the job I hated, the feeling of being lost, the depression, was a result of my own thoughts and beliefs. But if that was true, then it also meant I had the power to change everything. The book talked about something called the law of attraction, and as I read, I felt something stirring inside me that I hadn't felt in years. Possibility. What if I could actually attract my life's purpose? What if the universe was just waiting for me to ask for it in the right way? The next morning, I woke up with more energy than I'd had in months. I decided to try the techniques the book described, starting with gratitude. Every morning, I would write down 3 things I was grateful for. It sounds simple, but it was actually harder than I expected. When you've been focused on everything that's wrong with your life, finding things to appreciate takes practice. Day 1, I'm grateful for my health, for having a roof over my head, and for the fact that I have a job even if I don't love it. Day 5, I'm grateful for the barista at my coffee shop who always remembers my order, for the spring flowers blooming along the river trail, and for the fact that I live in a city full of music and creativity. Day 10, I'm grateful for my curiosity, for the way the morning light hits my apartment wall, and for the growing sense that something is about to change. Something was shifting inside me, subtly but undeniably. Next, I started practicing visualization. Every night before bed, I would close my eyes and try to imagine myself doing work that fulfilled me. But here's the thing. I still didn't know what that work was. So instead, I visualized how I wanted to feel. Passionate, energized, like I was making a difference in the world. I would imagine waking up excited to start my day, feeling that sense of purpose that had been missing for so long. I could see myself smiling more, laughing more, feeling alive in a way that I'd forgotten was possible. I also started paying attention to what the book called inspired action. Instead of forcing myself to figure out my purpose through sheer willpower, I began to follow my curiosities and impulses. If something interested me, I explored it. If I felt drawn to try something new, I tried it. This led me to some unexpected places. I signed up for a weekend pottery class. I was terrible at it. I attended a poetry reading at a local bookstore. I discovered I love spoken word. I volunteered at the animal shelter on Saturdays. The dogs were amazing, but I realized I was more drawn to the human volunteers than the animals themselves. Each experience was like collecting puzzle pieces, though I still couldn't see the full picture they were meant to create. But let me be honest with you, it wasn't all smooth sailing. About a month into my law of attraction practice, I hit a wall of resistance that felt like trying to run through quicksand. The voice in my head, the one that had always been my harshest critic, got louder. This is ridiculous. You're 29 years old and you're trying to manifest your way out of your problems? Grow up. Get real. This magical thinking isn't going to pay your bills. There were days when I felt foolish for believing that my thoughts could somehow reshape reality. My practical side kept reminding me that I had rent to pay, student loans to manage, a life to maintain. I couldn't just quit my job and wait for the universe to deliver my purpose on a silver platter. The doubt was particularly strong on the days when nothing seemed to be happening. I'd been visualizing and affirming and gratitude journaling for weeks, and I was still waking up every morning to go to the same job I hated. Where were the magical synchronicities? Where were the signs from the universe? I remember one especially difficult evening in June when I called my best friend from college, Maya, who lived in Denver. I was pacing around my tiny apartment, feeling frustrated and confused. Maya, I think I'm losing my mind, I told her. I've been doing all this law of attraction stuff and nothing's happening. I still don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life, and I'm starting to think I never will. Maya listened patiently as I vented all my fears and doubts. When I finally stopped talking, she was quiet for a moment. You know what I think? She said finally. I think you're trying too hard to control the outcome. Maybe the universe is trying to show you something, but you're so focused on what you think the answer should look like that you're missing what's actually happening. Her words hit me like a gentle slap. She was right. I had been so fixated on having some dramatic revelation about my life's purpose that I wasn't paying attention to the smaller shifts that were already occurring. That night, I made a decision to surrender a little bit. Instead of trying to force the universe to reveal my purpose according to my timeline, I would trust the process and stay open to whatever wanted to emerge. The shift happened on a Tuesday in July, and it started with something as simple as a missed bus. I was running late for work, again, and had just watched the 7:45 bus pull away from the stop as I rounded the corner. Normally, this would have ruined my mood for the entire day. But I'd been working on accepting what the law of attraction teachers call contrast. The idea that even seemingly negative experiences are redirecting us toward what we actually want. So instead of cursing my luck, I took a deep breath and decided to walk to the next bus stop. It was a beautiful morning, and I figured the universe might be giving me a chance to slow down and pay attention. As I walked down South First Street, I passed a small community center I'd never really noticed before. There was a sign out front that said, "Free public speaking workshop today, 6 p.m., everyone welcome." Something about that sign made me stop in my tracks. Public speaking had always terrified me. In college, I would literally skip classes that required presentations. The thought of standing in front of people and talking made my palms sweat and my heart race. But standing there looking at that sign, I felt something different. Instead of fear, I felt curiosity. I took a picture of the sign with my phone and continued to work, but I couldn't stop thinking about it all day. During my lunch break, I looked up the community center online. They offered all kinds of workshops and classes, everything from financial literacy to meditation to creative writing. But it was their mission statement that really caught my attention. Empowering individuals to find their voice and share their gifts with the world. By 5:30 that evening, I found myself standing outside the community center, my heart pounding, but my feet moving forward anyway. The workshop was being held in a small room with about 15 people sitting in a circle. The facilitator was a woman named Carmen Rodriguez, probably in her 50s, with silver-streaked hair and the warmest smile I'd ever seen. "Welcome," she said when she saw me hesitating in the doorway. "Come on in. We're just getting started." For the next 2 hours, Carmen taught us basic public speaking techniques, but more importantly, she taught us about the power of authentic communication. She talked about how sharing our stories, our real, vulnerable, imperfect stories, could create connection and healing, both for ourselves and for others. "Everyone has a story that needs to be told," she said, looking around the circle. "And somewhere out there, there's someone who needs to hear exactly what you have to say." When it came time for each of us to do a short practice presentation, I chose to talk about my struggle to find my life's purpose. I had never spoken so openly about my feelings of being lost and confused, especially not to a room full of strangers. But something about Carmen's presence and the supportive energy in the room made it feel safe. As I spoke, I noticed something amazing happening. People were nodding, leaning forward, making eye contact. They weren't judging me or finding me foolish. They were relating to what I was saying. Several people came up to me afterward to thank me for being so honest and to share their own similar struggles. Walking home that night, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, a sense of alignment. For those 2 hours, I had felt completely myself, completely in the right place at the right time. Over the next few weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about that workshop. I found myself looking forward to the next session and the one after that. Carmen began to feel like a mentor, and the group became like a second family. But it wasn't just the public speaking that was drawing me in, it was something deeper. I loved watching people overcome their fears and find their voices. I loved seeing the transformation that happened when someone shared their authentic story and realized they weren't alone in their struggles. One evening, after a particularly powerful session where a woman named Janet shared her story of overcoming addiction, I stayed behind to help Carmen clean up. "You have a gift for this," she said as we stacked chairs. "For what?" I asked. "For creating space for people to be real. I've been doing this for 12 years, and I can tell who has the facilitator gene. You've got it." I laughed, but something in her tone made me pay attention. "Carmen, I work in data analysis. I've never facilitated anything in my life." "That's exactly my point," she said. "You're not trying to be someone you're not. You're just being genuinely interested in people's stories and genuinely supportive of their growth. That's what the best facilitators do." She paused, studying my face. "Have you ever thought about getting trained in this kind of work?" I hadn't, but as soon as she said it, something clicked into place. Like a puzzle piece I didn't even know I was looking for. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Carmen had said, about the idea of creating space for people to be real and find their voices. I thought about how alive I felt during those workshops, how time seemed to fly by, how I never wanted the sessions to end. I started researching life coaching, facilitation training, and personal development work. The more I read, the more excited I became. This was a field where I could help people navigate their own journeys of self-discovery. I could be the person I had needed when I was feeling lost and confused. But then the practical voice in my head kicked in again. You can't just quit your job and become a life coach. You have no experience, no credentials, no client base. This is just another fantasy. The internal battle raged for weeks. Half of me was excited about this new possibility, while the other half was terrified of making a huge mistake. I was 29 years old with a stable job, and I was considering throwing it all away to pursue something I wasn't even sure I'd be good at. But the signs kept coming. Everywhere I looked, I saw references to coaching, personal development, and helping others find their purpose. I'd be listening to a podcast, and the guest would be a life coach. I'd be browsing in a bookstore, and I'd stumble across books about the coaching profession. I'd be scrolling through social media, and I'd see articles about the growing demand for authentic leadership and personal growth support. The universe seemed to be putting neon signs in front of me, but I was still afraid to trust what I was seeing. The turning point came during a conversation with my sister, Elena. She was visiting Austin for a weekend, and we were having breakfast at a little cafe in the French Place neighborhood. I had been telling her about the workshops and my growing interest in facilitation and coaching. "You know what's funny?" she said, sipping her coffee. "I've never seen you talk about anything the way you're talking about this. Your whole face lights up. But what if I'm not good at it? What if I can't make a living? What if you are good at it?" she interrupted. "What if this is exactly what you're meant to be doing, and you miss out on it because you're too scared to try?" Her words hit me like a lightning bolt. I had been so focused on all the ways it could go wrong that I hadn't really considered how it could go right. That afternoon, I made a decision that would change everything. I signed up for a life coaching certification program that would start in September. It was a 6-month program that I could do while still working my day job. If I loved it, I could transition gradually. If I didn't, I'd still have learned something valuable about myself. The moment I submitted my enrollment form, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years. It was like I had finally said yes to something my soul had been asking for. The coaching program was unlike anything I had ever experienced. For the first time in my adult life, I was learning something that felt completely aligned with who I was becoming. The concepts, the techniques, the philosophy, everything resonated with me on a deep level. We learned about the power of powerful questions, the importance of holding space for someone's growth, and the art of helping people discover their own answers rather than giving them advice. We studied different coaching methodologies, practiced with each other, and began to understand what it meant to be a professional helper. But the most transformative part wasn't the technical skills. It was the personal work we had to do on ourselves. Our instructor, a brilliant woman named Dr. Sarah Chen, insisted that we couldn't take our clients anywhere we hadn't been ourselves. "You can't guide someone through their own transformation if you haven't done your own inner work," she told us. The most powerful coaching comes from a place of authentic vulnerability and genuine compassion, both of which require you to know yourself deeply. So we did the work. We examined our own limiting beliefs, our fears, our patterns of self-sabotage. We practiced the techniques on ourselves before learning to use them with others. We shared our own stories of struggle and growth, and learned to hold space for each other's journeys. Through this process, I began to understand something crucial. My own experience of feeling lost and searching for purpose wasn't a weakness or a failure. It was actually my greatest strength as a coach. Because I had lived through that confusion and uncertainty, I could authentically support others who were going through the same thing. I also realized that the law of attraction had been working all along, just not in the way I had expected. Instead of delivering my purpose in one dramatic revelation, it had been guiding me through a series of experiences that were preparing me for this work. The workshops with Carmen, the books I had read, the conversations with friends, the moments of doubt and uncertainty, it had all been part of the journey. In November, about halfway through my certification program, I was required to find practice clients to work with for free. I was nervous about this assignment. Who would want to be coached by someone who was just learning? I decided to post on Facebook, sharing vulnerably about my coaching journey and offering free sessions to anyone who was interested. Within hours, I had more responses than I expected. Friends, acquaintances, even friends of friends were reaching out, saying they had been thinking about working with a coach but hadn't known where to start. My first official coaching client was a woman named Maria, someone I had worked with briefly at a previous job. She was in her mid-30s, successful in her marketing career, but feeling like something was missing. She wanted to explore the possibility of starting her own business, but was paralyzed by fear and uncertainty. Our first session was over Zoom, and I was so nervous that my hands were literally shaking as I logged on. But something magical happened as soon as we started talking. All the techniques I had been learning flowed naturally, and more importantly, I found myself genuinely curious about Maria's dreams and genuinely committed to supporting her growth. Over the course of our 6 sessions together, I watched Maria transform from someone who was stuck in analysis paralysis to someone who was taking concrete steps toward her entrepreneurial dreams. She started her business plan, began networking in her industry, and most importantly, started believing in herself again. "I can't thank you enough," she said during our final session. "You helped me see possibilities I couldn't see on my own. You asked questions that nobody else was asking. You made me feel like my dreams were valid and achievable." After that call, I sat in my apartment and cried. Not tears of sadness, but tears of recognition. This was it. This was what I was meant to be doing. This was my purpose. By the time I completed my coaching certification in March 2020, I knew I had found my calling. I had worked with 8 practice clients, and each experience had reinforced my sense that this was the work I was born to do. But I still had a full-time job, and the thought of leaving the security of a steady paycheck was terrifying. I decided to start my coaching practice as a side business, building it gradually while still working at the marketing firm. The universe, however, had different plans. In April 2020, the marketing firm where I worked had to make layoffs due to the economic impact of the pandemic. I was one of the people let go. What could have been a devastating setback actually felt like a push from the universe, encouraging me to commit fully to my new path. With my severance package providing a financial cushion, I decided to take the leap. I registered my coaching business, created a simple website, and started reaching out to my network to let people know about my services. The first few months were scary. There were weeks when I didn't have any client sessions scheduled, and I would lie awake at night wondering if I had made a huge mistake. But then I would remember everything I had learned about the law of attraction. I would visualize my practice growing, feel grateful for the clients I already had, and trust that the universe was supporting my journey. Slowly but surely, clients began to find me. Some were referrals from my practice clients. Others found me through social media. A few reached out after seeing me speak at networking events. My public speaking skills had improved dramatically thanks to Carmen's workshops. Each client was unique, but they all had one thing in common. They were searching for something more. Some wanted to find their life's purpose, like I had. Others wanted to start businesses, change careers, improve their relationships, or simply feel more fulfilled in their daily lives. What I discovered was that my own journey of searching and finding had given me a unique ability to hold space for other people's journeys. I understood the frustration of feeling lost, the fear of making big changes, and the joy of finally finding alignment between who you are and what you do. By the end of my first year in business, I had worked with over 30 clients. I had helped a teacher transition to becoming a school counselor, supported an accountant in launching his photography business, and guided a stay-at-home mom in rediscovering her identity and passions. But the most rewarding part wasn't just the individual transformations. It was seeing how those transformations rippled out into the world. When someone finds their purpose and starts living authentically, it gives other people permission to do the same. My clients were inspiring their friends, their family members, their colleagues to question whether they were truly living the lives they wanted to live. I also started offering group workshops, combining my love of facilitation with my coaching skills. These sessions focused on helping people identify their values, explore their passions, and take steps toward more purposeful lives. The energy in these groups was incredible. People supporting each other, sharing their dreams, and creating accountability partnerships that lasted long after the workshops ended. One of the most powerful workshops I led was called Finding Your Purpose Through Story. Participants would share their life stories, identifying patterns and themes that pointed toward their unique gifts and callings. It was like watching people connect dots they didn't even know existed. During one of these workshops, a woman named Susan shared that she had always been the person her friends came to for advice during difficult times. Through our conversation, she realized that she was naturally gifted at helping people process grief and loss. Within 6 months, she had enrolled in a grief counseling certification program. 2 years later, she was running her own practice, helping hundreds of people navigate some of the most difficult experiences of their lives. These stories reminded me over and over again that finding your purpose isn't just about personal fulfillment. It's about discovering how your unique gifts can serve the world. As my coaching practice grew and evolved, so did my understanding of how the law of attraction actually works. It wasn't magic exactly, but it wasn't just positive thinking either. It was something more subtle and more powerful. I began to see that when we get clear about what we want, really clear, not just intellectually but emotionally and energetically, we start noticing opportunities that were always there, but that we couldn't see before. When we raise our vibration through gratitude and visualization and aligned action, we literally become more attractive to the people and circumstances that can support our growth. But it's not passive. The law of attraction isn't about sitting on your couch and waiting for the universe to deliver your dreams. It's about becoming the kind of person who would naturally attract what you want, and then taking inspired action from that place of alignment. For me, that meant becoming someone who truly believed in the power of personal transformation, someone who could hold space for other people's growth, someone who had done enough inner work to be genuinely helpful, rather than just well-intentioned. I also learned that finding your purpose isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing journey of alignment and realignment. As I grew as a person and as a coach, my understanding of my purpose deepened and expanded. I went from simply wanting to help people find their purpose to wanting to help them step into their full power and create lives that truly reflected their highest potential. About 2 years into running my practice, I faced a challenge that tested everything I had learned about the law of attraction and finding purpose. My mom was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's disease. She was only 62, and the diagnosis came out of nowhere. Suddenly, I found myself questioning everything. How could the universe allow this to happen? What was the purpose in such a devastating illness? How could I help other people find meaning in their lives when my own family was facing something so meaningless and cruel? For several months, I struggled with despair and anger. I continued working with my clients, but I felt like a fraud. How could I talk about manifesting your dream life when my own life felt like it was falling apart? It was during this dark period that I discovered a deeper layer of what it means to live purposefully. My purpose wasn't just about helping people when life was going well. It was about helping them find meaning and strength even in the midst of difficulty. I started incorporating more elements of resilience and meaning-making into my coaching practice. I studied the work of Viktor Frankl, who wrote about finding purpose even in the most horrific circumstances. I explored how the law of attraction works not just for manifesting external circumstances, but for attracting inner resources like courage, compassion, and hope. Working with my mom's illness also taught me that sometimes our purpose includes holding space for things we can't fix or change. I couldn't manifest my mom's healing, but I could be present with her, advocate for her care, and help my family navigate this difficult journey with as much love and grace as possible. This experience deepened my coaching in ways I never expected. I became more comfortable with the complexity of human experience, more skilled at helping people find purpose even in the midst of loss and uncertainty. Today, 4 years after I first picked up that book about the law of attraction, my life looks completely different from what I could have imagined back then. I run a successful coaching practice that supports people all over the country in finding their purpose and creating lives they love. I've spoken at conferences, led workshops for corporations, and written articles about the journey of personal transformation. But more importantly, I wake up every morning excited about the day ahead. I'm doing work that feels aligned with who I am, work that makes a difference in people's lives, work that continues to challenge me to grow and evolve. The law of attraction didn't give me a perfect life. It gave me a purposeful one. It didn't eliminate all challenges and difficulties. It helped me develop the inner resources to navigate them with more wisdom and resilience. I've learned that finding your purpose isn't about discovering some predetermined destiny that's been waiting for you. It's about becoming conscious of your unique gifts and then finding ways to share those gifts in service of something larger than yourself. For me, those gifts turned out to be deep listening, powerful questioning, and the ability to see potential in people even when they can't see it in themselves. But everyone's gifts are different. Some people are meant to heal through medicine, others through art. Some are called to teach, others to build, others to innovate. The key is getting quiet enough to hear what your soul is calling you toward, and then brave enough to follow that calling even when you don't know exactly where it will lead. One of the most beautiful things about living your purpose is that it creates a ripple effect that extends far beyond your own life. When you're doing work that aligns with your soul, you give other people permission to do the same. I think about Maria, my first coaching client, who now runs a successful consulting business and has helped dozens of other women start their own companies. I think about Susan, who has guided hundreds of people through their grief journeys. I think about all the clients who have found their calling as teachers, artists, healers, entrepreneurs, parents, and leaders. Each person who finds and follows their purpose creates space for others to do the same. It's like lighting candles in a dark room. Each flame makes it easier for others to find their way. This ripple effect has become part of my own sense of purpose. I'm not just helping individual clients. I'm contributing to a larger movement of people who are choosing to live authentically and purposefully. I'm part of raising the collective vibration of our communities and our world. If I could go back and talk to my 29-year-old self, sitting in that beige cubicle feeling lost and confused, here's what I would tell her. The feeling that you're meant for something more isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that something is right with you. That restlessness, that sense of dissatisfaction, that voice asking, "Is this all there is?" isn't a problem to be solved. It's a compass pointing you toward growth. Your purpose isn't hiding from you. It's emerging through you, experience by experience, choice by choice, moment by moment. You don't have to figure it all out at once. You just have to be willing to follow your curiosity and trust the process. The law of attraction isn't about getting the universe to give you what you want. It's about becoming the person who would naturally attract what you want. It's about aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with your highest vision of yourself and your life. And here's the most important thing. Your purpose isn't just about you. It's about the unique contribution you're here to make to the world. When you find and follow your purpose, you don't just transform your own life, you help transform the lives of everyone you touch. So if you're reading this and you recognize yourself in my story, if you're feeling lost, confused, like you're meant for something more but you don't know what that is, I want you to know that you're not alone, and you're not broken, and it's not too late. Your purpose isn't something you have to earn or achieve. It's something you have to remember and embody. It's already within you, waiting to be recognized and expressed. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Pay attention to what lights you up, what breaks your heart, what you can't stop thinking about. Notice the conversations that energize you, the activities that make you lose track of time, the problems you can't help but want to solve. Trust that the universe is conspiring to support your growth and your contribution. Trust that every experience you've had, the good ones and the difficult ones, has been preparing you for the work you're meant to do. And remember that finding your purpose isn't a destination. It's a journey. It's not something you figure out once and then you're done. It's something you live into, day by day, choice by choice, with increasing clarity and commitment. The world needs what you have to offer. We need your unique perspective, your particular gifts, your authentic voice. We need you to stop hiding and start shining. Your purpose is calling you. Can you hear it? As I finish writing this story, I'm sitting in my home office, a space I've created that reflects who I've become and the work I'm here to do. The walls are covered with thank you notes from clients, pictures from workshops, quotes that inspire me to keep growing. 5 years ago, I couldn't have imagined this life. But now I understand that the universe was always guiding me toward it, even during the moments when I felt most lost. The law of attraction didn't just help me manifest external circumstances. It helped me remember who I truly am and what I'm here to contribute. It taught me that we're not victims of our circumstances. We're powerful creators who can transform our lives by transforming our inner world. Every morning now, I wake up with a sense of anticipation. Not because every day is perfect, but because I know I'm living in alignment with my soul's calling. I'm doing work that matters, with people who inspire me, in service of something bigger than myself. And the most beautiful part? This is just the beginning. As I continue to grow and evolve, so does my understanding of my purpose. New layers reveal themselves, new opportunities emerge, new ways to serve present themselves. The journey of finding your purpose isn't a sprint, it's a dance. A beautiful, messy, miraculous dance between your soul's calling and the universe's infinite support. Today, my relationship with the law of attraction has evolved into a daily spiritual practice that keeps me aligned with my purpose. Every morning, I spend time in gratitude, visualization, and intention setting. Not because I'm trying to manifest specific outcomes, but because these practices help me stay connected to who I'm becoming and how I want to show up in the world. I visualize not just my business goals, but the impact I want to have on my clients' lives. I see them finding their own sense of purpose, stepping into their power, creating lives that reflect their highest potential. I feel the energy of transformation, both theirs and mine. I also practice what I call purposeful presence, staying aware throughout the day of opportunities to serve, to support, to contribute. Sometimes this looks like a powerful coaching session with a client. Sometimes it's a kind word to a stranger, a thoughtful response to a friend's text, or simply holding space for someone who needs to be heard. This practice has taught me that living your purpose isn't just about your career or your big life mission. It's about bringing your authentic self and your unique gifts to every interaction, every relationship, every moment of your life. One of the surprises of finding my purpose has been the unexpected joys that come with it. There's a sense of flow that happens when you're aligned with your calling that makes even the challenging days feel meaningful. I love the moment when a client's face lights up as they have a breakthrough. I love facilitating workshops where strangers become friends united by their shared commitment to growth. I love writing articles and creating content that helps people I'll never meet feel less alone in their journeys. But I also love the quiet moments, the reflection time between sessions, the walks in nature where new insights emerge, the conversations with fellow coaches and healers who understand this path. There's a sense of being held by something larger than myself, of being part of a community of people who are committed to personal and collective transformation. This sense of belonging and purpose has healed parts of me I didn't even know were wounded. Living your purpose doesn't mean living without challenges. In fact, I've found that the deeper I go into my calling, the more I'm asked to grow. The universe seems to present me with clients and situations that stretch me beyond my comfort zone, that require me to develop new skills and heal new layers of my own story. There was the client who was dealing with addiction, which forced me to educate myself about recovery and find new ways to support someone in that journey. There was the client who was navigating a divorce while starting a business, which required me to hold space for both grief and excitement simultaneously. Each challenge has been an invitation to become more skillful, more compassionate, more wise. I've learned that living your purpose means being willing to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep becoming more of who you're meant to be. As my practice has grown, I've been amazed by the ripple effects I never could have anticipated. Former clients have become friends and colleagues. Some have gone on to become coaches themselves, multiplying the impact far beyond what I could create alone. I've been invited to speak at events I never would have imagined attending. I've collaborated with other practitioners to create programs that serve hundreds of people. I've been featured in podcasts and articles that have reached thousands. But the most meaningful ripples are the personal ones. The client who told me that our work together saved her marriage, the woman who said that finding her purpose gave her the courage to leave an abusive relationship, the man who started volunteering with at-risk youth after discovering his calling to mentor young people. These stories remind me that when we have the courage to follow our own purpose, we create space for others to do the same. We become permission givers, way showers, proof that it's possible to create a life that truly reflects who we are. What I've learned is that finding your purpose isn't about abandoning everything you were before. It's about integrating all of your experiences into a coherent sense of mission and meaning. My background in data analysis actually serves me well as a coach. I'm naturally good at seeing patterns, asking clarifying questions, and helping clients organize their thoughts and goals. My years of feeling lost and confused give me genuine empathy for clients who are struggling with similar feelings. Even my mom's illness has become part of my purpose. I now work with clients who are caring for aging parents, who are dealing with their own health challenges, who are learning to find meaning in the midst of loss and uncertainty. Everything. The joys and the sorrows, the successes and the failures, the clarity and the confusion, has been part of preparing me for the work I'm here to do. As I look toward the future, I feel excited about how my purpose will continue to evolve. I'm exploring new modalities, considering writing a book, dreaming about retreats and intensives that could serve people in even deeper ways. But I'm also content with not knowing exactly where this path will lead. The law of attraction has taught me to trust the unfolding, to stay open to possibilities I haven't yet imagined, to follow my excitement and curiosity wherever they lead. What I know for certain is that I want to keep growing, keep serving, keep contributing to the awakening of human potential. I want to help create a world where more people feel empowered to live authentically, to pursue their dreams, to share their gifts. Here's what I've learned about the law of attraction that I wish someone had told me at the beginning. It's not about getting what you want, it's about becoming who you need to be to naturally attract what you want. The universe didn't give me my purpose because I visualized it correctly or said the right affirmations. The universe supported me in discovering my purpose because I was willing to do the inner work, take inspired action, and stay open to possibilities beyond my limited imagination. The real magic happens when you stop trying to control the how and start focusing on the what and the why. When you get clear about what you want to create and why it matters, the universe begins to orchestrate circumstances, connections, and opportunities that support your vision. But you have to be willing to show up. You have to be willing to grow. You have to be willing to become the person capable of living the life you're envisioning. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this. You are not an accident. You are not here by mistake. You have something unique and valuable to contribute to this world, and the universe is always supporting you in discovering and expressing your gifts. The feelings of restlessness, dissatisfaction, or confusion that you might be experiencing aren't signs that something is wrong with you. They're signs that something is ready to emerge through you. They're invitations to grow, to explore, to become more of who you truly are. Your purpose doesn't have to be grandiose or world-changing in obvious ways. It might be raising children with love and consciousness. It might be creating art that moves people. It might be running a business that serves your community. It might be teaching, healing, building, innovating, or any number of ways that humans contribute to the collective good. What matters is that it's yours. What matters is that it comes from your authentic self and serves something larger than your ego. What matters is that you have the courage to follow the calling, even when you don't know exactly where it will lead. As I close this story, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. Gratitude for the journey that brought me here, including all the difficult and confusing parts. Gratitude for the teachers who appeared along the way, some in human form, some in the form of books and experiences and synchronicities. Gratitude for my clients, who trust me with their dreams and fears and allow me to witness their transformations. Gratitude for my family and friends, who supported me through the uncertainty and celebrated with me as I found my way. And gratitude for the law of attraction itself, not as a magical formula for getting what we want, but as a reminder that we are powerful, creative beings who can transform our lives by transforming our relationship with ourselves and the world around us. So here's my invitation to you. If you've been feeling that pull towards something more, don't ignore it. If you've been sensing that there's a purpose waiting to be discovered, start exploring. If you've been wondering whether the law of attraction really works, try it for yourself with an open heart and a commitment to your own growth. Start with gratitude. Start with small steps toward what excites you. Start with trusting that the universe is on your side, even when you can't see the whole path ahead. And remember, you don't have to figure it all out at once. You just have to be willing to begin. Your purpose is calling you. The question is, are you ready to answer? If this story resonated with you, if you felt that spark of recognition or hope or possibility, I want you to know that you're not alone in this journey. There are thousands of us out here who have walked the path from confusion to clarity, from feeling lost to feeling found. If you believe that you have a unique purpose waiting to be discovered, if you trust that the universe is always guiding you toward your highest potential, if you're ready to stop playing small and start living the life your soul is calling you toward, then I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me, I'm ready to discover my purpose. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that like button if you believe in the power of authentic transformation. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the stories and insights that could change your life. Remember, your dreams aren't too big, you're not too old, it's not too late, and you're not alone. The universe is always conspiring to support your growth and your contribution. Your purpose is waiting. The only question is, when will you say yes?